Hello, everyone. This is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love, and thank you for being here in Soul Talk. And today I want to present you with Vishrant. And let me tell you about a little bit about who he is, and he will explain us more. Vishrant, it is a contemporary mystic and enlightened spiritual teacher from the Perth of Australia. And he have a very, very interesting bio, but I prefer to he let us know how he got here. He got an enlightenment. That's what we're reading. I'm reading here, and he have a very very interesting story. So, Miss Rand, thank you so much for being here in Soul Talk. I really appreciate you. And
Lovely to be here.
you have life and death situations here. You went into really to a journey to get where you are now.
Mm.
So please let us know a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, my journey on love began really in earnest when I was lost at sea, 60 miles off the coast of West Australia, and my boat was sinking. It was during a cyclone, so it was really grim. We had sharks circling the boat, and the boat was going down, and I didn't think we were going to make it. I really didn't think we were going to live. And I looked across at my partner, who was well, we were both in the water because the boat had sunk up to its gunnels. And we're both in the water, and we've been in the water now for about 12 hours, so I had hypothermia. And I looked across, and I realised that I'd cost her life by taking her out in this boat without checking the weather, because it was my fault. I didn't check the weather. And I looked across at her and I felt this amazing regret. But what happened next was I just felt this amazing love, this unconditional love that just appeared out of nowhere. And it was the most beautiful thing that I had ever experienced. And so that adventure fortunately finished with us being rescued at 2 o'clock in the morning by a tanker. And that was my first experience of unconditional love. But it opened a window because it made me realize that there was more to life than what I was doing. Because at the time, I was a successful publisher in Perth, West Australia, and I had actually retired already. I was 33 years old and I had already retired at the age of 28. But, and there's a big but, I realised I was bankrupt. Even though I was wealthy with property and money, I was bankrupt because I didn't have heart. I didn't have this unconditional love that I really wanted. And so one day, at the end of that year, I walked into my offices and gave my multi-million-dollar company to my staff. Everything, including 14 offices of furniture. And I walked out totally broke. I even had to declare bankruptcy because I gave everything away. I took my shoes off and I walked around Australia for 4 years looking for my heart, because I realised that it was the only thing here that was worth anything. That no amount of money, no amount of land, no amount of cars or any other type of property is worth anything compared to unconditional love. And so I walked around Australia looking for love. And I found it. I became a nobody going nowhere, which was reasonably difficult for me because I'd become such a big somebody. And I was able to really relax. And in that relaxed state and that open state, I started to experience love. And then I thought, after 4 years, I thought, what should I do with my life now? I don't want to go back into publishing. I don't want to go back into business. So I went back to university and trained as a psychotherapist and as a naturopath so I could be in service to people, because I wanted to be in service to people. I wanted to help people because that's the way of the heart. In Buddhism, we call it the Noble Path, the way of the heart. And I've been living the way of the heart ever since, because as far as I'm concerned, it's the only way to live. And that's up to you. We don't get taught this stuff at school. We get taught to be efficient little machines and competitors so we can get enlisted in the army and go to war. We don't get taught how to love. And it's the thing that's lacking on this planet, I think. Unconditional love and the teaching of it. So I teach a way of the heart, which is unconditional love.
That is beautiful. That's a beautiful story how you got there. And something that I would like to ask you, because something that you teach too, it is about ambition against commitment. And that's something that we've been debating a lot, at least with my students and everywhere I go, how much it is too much, because there is always an ambition instead of following the heart. That you how human beings can shift that, because it is a vice, always going for more and more and more in our ambition, but not necessarily spiritual, because that it is the division, or you're going for the money or you're going for the heart.
Yeah, well, there's a big difference because in ambition you're collecting more and more and more and you're using resistance in life to do that. In going for heart, you're not using resistance, you're going for openness because it's in openness that we get to experience heart. We don't get to experience heart in closedness and defendedness. We get to experience it in openness. And ambition itself is a form of closure. And so the more open you can be, the more love you can perceive, basically. And that's up to you because you supply the closure or the openness.
That is so true. And the thing is, and that takes us out of our heart. Just exactly how you had your business in that time that you were in the publishing company, it was more about the money, the ambition, having more and more and more, until you got to the beautiful conclusion in that life, that experience that you had,
Yeah.
that it was about the emotion of the heart, the unconditional love. And that, like you said it is very true. They didn't teach us that at school. They didn't teach us that at the house.
No.
They teach us how to be more productive and have more and more and more of something that we might never even use.
Efficient little machines.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bricks in the wall.
So, how in your teachings, how do you teach people how to go into the unconditional love, and instead of looking for something that is gonna machine that is never gonna be satisfied?
Well, first of all, you've got to find love. And so going into something isn't the way. You have to find love. And I found love by practicing openness. And most people don't practice openness, they practice closure. They're defended against this, they're defended against that. All defense systems are closure. Where's the openness? And so when you start practicing openness, you're preparing yourself for the way of the heart because you're getting in touch with love. Then for me, I can only talk about me, I just wanted to help people. And so I went back to school and I trained in naturopathy and psychotherapy. So I had some tools to help people with because I wasn't going to teach people business and I wasn't going to run another business.
Yes.
I saw that was just hollow, empty, so empty. Because I was lucky enough to get to the top. You know, I had the cars, I had the boats, I had the penthouses. There's nothing there. It's empty. And you still have the ambition to keep making more. So becoming a nobody going nowhere was one of the best things I ever did in my life. Because as a nobody going nowhere, I didn't have to support a bullshit ego. I could actually just relax and be a nobody going nowhere. And in that relaxation, I could find enough openness to support the perception of love.
So basically, you changed completely your identity, who you were, for a new identity.
I had to leave. I had to leave Perth to do that. So I walked around Australia. I had to leave Perth. I left Perth and I walked across Australia because I had to leave all my old friends and all my old family because they wanted me to come back as I was. As a matter of fact, people even offered me money to get back into business, but they didn't realise I'd given it all away because I didn't want money. I wanted heart. I realised that the most valuable thing that we can have as human beings is love.
And I bet in that time, in that process of changing the money or the business and so forth, and going for the heart, it was a period in there that you went into fears. I imagine that. Fears of not having a roof or a secure roof or food in front of you.
For a little bit it did, and I recognised that I didn't have much love in my life, and I was riding a motorcycle in those days, and I noticed that I didn't want to live anymore because everybody I knew was suffering. Everybody I knew was hurting themselves in some way, victim orientation or whatever. And I found myself at one point lining up trees on my motorbike at high speed because I just wanted out of here. And then it came to me, what should I do? What should I do? Should I die or should I do something different? And I gave myself no choice. I chose to serve heart, which meant a life of service to, in my case, other people.
So I understand as a linguistic programmer that once that we understand a feeling or we felt a feeling, we can bring back that emotion, like unconditional love, to our present moment whenever we need it.
Okay.
So, and I cannot imagine living into that beautiful emotion that is unconditional love, because I have felt it several times in my life. So,
But I feel it
but
right now for you, darling. I,
thank
I love you to bits.
but how you can maintain that emotion in a permanent state?
Remain permanently open. You see, what I did to find love is I removed all the obstacles that were in the way of love. Everything. Anything that caused contraction in me. Any belief system when an expectation on it wasn't met that caused contraction in me was undone. And what I didn't know at the time, I was actually preparing my mind to be in support of enlightenment. I thought I was just preparing it for love, but I was supporting it for enlightenment as well. And so 8 years after I started my journey for heart, I woke up in the presence of an awake teacher. But my mind was ready. It was already equanimous. It didn't contract over life.
You study with Osho. That's something that I was reading here.
Yeah.
And also with the in the mystery school.
Yes. I spent a lot of time. Well, one of the things that being successful afforded me was I could pay to go around the world and do groups. And I did 8 months of groups in Osho's mystery school in America, and I did 5 months of it in India. And the mystery schools were brilliant because it was all about reverse engineering you, taking you apart, not making you bigger, better and more powerful like personal growth does, but actually taking away the bits and pieces that were in the way of heart. And it was amazing. Now, I had a lot of work to do, a lot of work.
No, I bet, because it is taking all the programs that we have, who we think we are, and reconstructing yourself who you really want to be.
Yeah, well, I didn't even want to be anything. I just didn't want all the old programming that had been given to me by my parents and by my schooling, by my government, by my religion. I felt trapped by it, so I was undoing it every opportunity I could, removing the programming that was limiting my access to heart.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have an advice how our viewers right now they can be practicing the unconditional love to themselves first?
Well, you've got to start with, I want to serve heart. You've got to start with that. I want heart in my life. You've got to have that desire. And then you have to work out how you can serve it. And so when I was walking around Australia as a bum, I started mowing people's lawns for free. I started making them dinner. I started washing their clothes. I started washing their dishes. I moved into service, and I went from being a publisher who was on an extremely high wage to someone who was earning nothing just washing dishes in people's houses, because I needed to get humble. And as a businessman, I was not humble. I was arrogant because I was successful and I was young. Humility is a requirement in the service of love.
That is true.
And when we really look at humility, it's basically an absence of the I. So we talk about altruism or selfless service, it's an absence of the I. You just do what you do because you love to do it. And all human beings are capable of love, but a lot of human beings aren't in touch with it because of the way they were brought up, including myself.
No, I agree. The majority, we are not being born in families that they already understand unconditional love. That's the majority of the human beings.
No, well, I definitely wasn't born in one of those families. Probably the opposite, actually. I had a reasonably tough upbringing. My family weren't the best of families, in that my father was a workaholic and a doaholic and an alcoholic, and my mother was a stressmonger and a rageaholic. And so I got put into boarding school when I was very young because my parents didn't want me around. And so I ended up with a lot of abandonment and betrayal wounding, which I had to heal, which I did that when I was in the mystery schools, Osho's mystery schools. And that was, in a lot of ways, very, very helpful to not be wounded in those ways. Because when you're wounded with abandonment, betrayal and rejection wounding, you can be manipulated by that wounding. And that's the bit I didn't like. I didn't like being manipulated by my wounding. So I was quite motivated to heal it. But anyone can find heart if they're willing to be open. It's just up to you. You create your reality by the way you think. Nobody does it to you.
Like at the beginning, we were talking about that my name was given to me by my guides, Warrior of Love. And one of the first things I told them, like, why you're naming me Warrior of Love when I still do not even know how to love myself, respect or honor myself. And like, that's exactly why we're giving you this name, because that's what you have to become.
Exactly.
And just wearing that, it have helped me to understand what it is unconditional love.
Yeah.
And it was hard at the beginning. I'm not gonna deny it. It's like when I have to mention my name, I hide it or hide my face.
Yeah. You're not anymore.
No, not anymore.
So I was given the name Vishrant, which means relax. And the reason I was given that name, because it's also a teaching name, is because I wasn't relaxed. As a businessman, because I took sannyas when I was a businessman, I wrote a way to Osho for sannyas, and I also in the letter wrote that I'd like to come and help him run the ranch in America. And they sent me back this name, Vishrant, or Prem Vishrant, which means relaxed love. And that's what I had to learn, relaxed love.
Yes.
And I did.
That's how funny how our guides give us what we have to work with ourselves in a way.
Yep.
But we have to become that. It is, I know that you're gonna have a retreat, but before I would like to know what do you teach in your retreats and how long are your retreats? How they're managed at the retreats? Because I believe that it's not so easy to teach unconditional love.
No, it's not. But if you have a field of energy that is love and a field of energy that comes from enlightenment, the field of energy does the work because it relaxes people and allows them to start feeling that wide spaciousness that we truly are, rather than this tiny little individual that we are. And so the retreat comes and people sit in the space with me, as I sat in the space with my teachers, for hour upon hour upon hour, and we do different things, different opening exercises, and I give talks and there's question and answer, but basically it's the field of energy. You see, when we're in a field of energy that is love, or a Buddha field, it opens us right up. And so the energy field itself does most of the work. People just have to be here. That's all. Unfortunately, quite often our family life wasn't like that. There wasn't a field of energy, a field of love. There was a field of stress because people are trying to make ends meet. And it's in this field of love, or this Buddha field, that people start finding the beauty of their own true self. They start finding the beauty of love, the thing that's actually valuable here.
Even the word unconditional love, it is very hard for comprehend for many people. And I would like your point of view. What it is unconditional love?
Well, it affects the mind. You've got to remember that unconditional love has nothing at all to do with the mind. It stands alone. It stands alone. And then the mind will try to claim it and say, I love you. But the truth is, love is there and then the I claims it. The I is not actually capable of love. But in this looking for love, we look for any way that works. And for me, it was with my spiritual teachers, because in their presence I could feel my mind relax and expand, and I could feel my heart open. And it wasn't necessarily what they were saying. It was the field of energy they were carrying.
Yeah.
And so I got together with heart teachers, people who had heart. And I loved that.
I understand that I have gone to many retreats and many places with many teachers. And something that you feel great when you're in their presence, in their energy, in their field. Then you go back to your normal life, then you have to pay the bills and you have to attend your family and whatever it is. And you forgot that emotion that you had in that beautiful retreat that you were. So how you can convey, like I mentioned, I asked at the beginning, how you can be in a permanent, unconditional love after the retreat ended, when you're at home and you have to pay the bills.
Yeah. You have to be open. You see, if we close up for any reason whatsoever, maybe a bill upsets us, well, we're cutting ourselves off from the perception of love, because love becomes obvious in openness and disappears in closeness. And so we look at, well, are we open or are we closed? Are we supporting openness or are we supporting closure through our defendedness or whatever? What are we actually supporting here? Are we supporting something here that will support the perception of love, or are we not?
Yeah. Yes, I can see that. Well, I'm not perfect. I'm still working with myself. I'm far away from enlightenment. But I can tell you that when I get into those moments, that is like, oh my God, the bills are piling up. I have to pay this and this, and then I make my list of things to pay. And the fear, and of course the ego comes into
Okay,
our head.
I
And
understand. You have to know how to deal with fear, because fear is closure. Fear is the enemy of enlightenment.
yes.
I learnt to deal with fear when I was a boy, because I was a diver, underwater diver. I even got my C class certificate when I was 10 years old, which is for diving underwater with tanks. And my father was a diver, and I used to go out diving with him, and we used to dive in water where there was a lot of sharks. And I had a terror of being eaten by sharks, an absolute terror. And I realized that the terror was stopping me from getting in the water. And so at some point, I just made it okay for the sharks to eat me. I made it okay for me to die. And in not resisting the fear, but instead of making it okay, fear died. Fear only survives if we resist what it is we're frightened of. If we make it okay, fear has no power. So we can disempower fear by simply making it okay for whatever we're frightened of to happen. Now, if it's paying the bills and you think you might be able to pay the mortgage payment or something like that, and you might get it kicked out of your house, you just make that okay. And the fear will disappear. Then you try and pay the bills.
Yes, of course.
but you're not supporting fear anymore because you're not resisting. You've stopped resisting and you're making it okay.
That is so true. I'm right now, a lot of memories from the past is coming, that it is how many times I've been feeling fear and I overcome it, just confronting the fear. And that is not so easy for many people. I understand.
No. Well, a lot of people have a problem with failure because when we're at school, we had to get it right every time. And the problem with having to get it right every time, it keeps us in a state of stress and it supports fear. I learnt as a boy to make failure okay. Not that I'd ever try to fail. I always tried to succeed at whatever I did, but I made failure okay so I could then be relaxed. Because when we're trying to be perfect, we can never be relaxed. But if we're okay with failure, we can be relaxed.
That is true. That is true. It's just being okay, basically, with failure.
Yeah.
And it happened. As many times we fall down, and as many times as we need to get up, we have to do it.
Exactly. Well, that's how you win. That's how you succeed. It's how many times you get up.
That is so true. And we play the same thing. It's something that I'm reading from what you sent me about the victim. When we have the mentality, the victim mentality, to feel freedom when we are not into that. And that's something that I've been working a lot with myself, and I work with people at the same time. Because yes, we can go with the victim mentality later on. Sorry. We go with the perpetrator mentality, and in the same with the same people that were playing the victim mentality, because it's all just games that we play, everybody.
Yeah,
But
well,
that can give.
I stopped that when I was 19 because I saw that I was a victim, and I saw that you have to volunteer to be a victim. I mean, bad stuff can happen, but to be a victim of that bad stuff, you have to volunteer. And I saw that being a victim was a choice. I could choose to be a victim and suffer, or I could choose not to be a victim and not suffer. At the moment you turn yourself into a victim of anything, you start blaming, so there's also the potential for anger, because the fuel for anger is blame. And so in removing victim-orientated thinking, by not supporting it in any way, shape or form, I removed most of my anger as well.
Yes, that's true. Like I always said, the expectations are the ones that hurt us. The people are just being themselves. But the expectations that we're doing are the ones that take us to the
Expectations.
victim.
Yeah, expectations. So I don't expect anything. I'm actually okay with whatever is, because I learnt that to be truly happy in this life, you have to accept life as it is. The moment you don't accept life as it is, you put yourself in hell. But that's you doing it to you. It's not the world. The world is just doing what the world does. We create our reality by the way we think. And if we turn ourselves into victims of anything and we start blaming, we're creating hell for ourselves. So I accept life as it is. And I don't even judge it. It's like I'm not into good, bad, right, wrong. I'm into this is what is. This is the way the world is. And so we look at the political situation out there, and you might disagree with it, but my understanding is this is what is. It's not right, wrong, it's not good or bad. Because the moment we go to right, wrong, good and bad, we get caught in judgment, and we get caught in the potential of victim-orientated thinking.
That is true. That is so true. We're making expectations at the same time, so we feel the victim.
Yep.
And when we feel the victim, we're far away from the heart.
Yeah. I expect to be betrayed. I expect to be lied to. Because that's human. This is human beings we're dealing with. You know, to expect different things from human beings is being out of touch with reality.
It's funny. Yesterday I was having a conversation with someone, and they told me, "Who do you trust?" And like, I really only trust myself. I trust my higher self because it has the best interest over me. And from there, I don't trust anyone. Why? Because everybody's human and everybody's gonna think in themselves before thinking in someone else. And this conversation is taking me to that thought, that who do you trust?
So there's an
And
old Sufi saying, I don't know if you're familiar with Sufism, but there's an old Sufi saying that says, trust in God, but tether your camel. And I think that's a wise saying. You know, we trust, but make sure. Check. Make sure. Don't be naive.
yes,
Trust, but make sure. Just check. Don't take anything for granted.
because trust have to do at the same time with expectations.
Well, I can trust that the sun is going to come out every morning because it just keeps doing that. But when it comes to human beings, they change like the wind.
Yes,
And so I like to check. I trust, but I check.
yes, that is so true, so true. And not only human beings, even for the people that are channelers that are listening right now, or they're talking with their guides or angels, whatever it is, everything has an agenda.
Yeah.
Everything has an agenda. It doesn't matter who they are.
Well, everyone who talks has an agenda in what they're saying. And with me, I read agendas rather than listen to what's said. Because what's said could be lies. It may be dishonest. But their agenda, which is energetically there, can be read every time. And with the agenda, it never lies. It's always truthful. And so I look for people, when I'm talking to people, I'm looking at their agendas, not what they're saying.
Yeah. This conversation have been very, very helpful. And like, if we trust in the spirits, it's exactly what I was needing to hear. Because all these questions I've been asking myself and working with myself. And it's exactly what I was just needing in this moment. Thank you.
Oh, you are very, very welcome. It's been my pleasure talking to you.
And tell us a little bit when it's going to be and where is going to be your retreat.
24th of January, we have a retreat in Perth, West Australia. It's a live-in retreat, but it can be attended online as well.
Okay. So
It's 4
I will be
days. 4 days.
and I will be posting the link. I'm going to be posting the link down below this video, so like that, if anyone is interested,
Okay.
they can register in your retreat. Because yes, feeling the unconditional love for ourselves, it can be just a game shifter in everything that we do.
It's what the world needs. The world
Ye-
needs more love, and only
Yes.
we can supply it, really. Only we can be
And
in
it's
touch with it.
and we just move the resistance that we have for our loving our own selves. And that comes with a lot of resistance sometimes because we judge ourselves.
Openness
Exactly what you
counts for everything. You've got to accept yourself as you are. We're
yeah.
all imperfect. That's okay, but you have to accept it. We're all being programmed badly, all of us. And you just have to accept that. Because when you can accept yourself, you can relax. And in that relaxation, you can open up and perceive love. When you're judging yourself harshly, it's very hard to experience love. Become your own
It is.
best friend.
Yes. And how many times we betray ourselves trying to people please or trying to look for love outside of ourselves. That's when we're far away to loving ourselves,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's looking for love. Are we looking for love? It might be what we're looking for. We might be looking to be taken care of in some way. It, love is the most beautiful thing, but it can't be owned. You can't own love. You can experience love, but you can't own it. And so you can't really give love either. You can be open enough to experience it, and that's the most beautiful thing in the world. And then you can take care of people from that space. And that might seem loving because it is, but it's because you're in touch with love.
That is so true. That is so true. Miss Rand, it's been really my pleasure to meet you and have this conversation with you. Do you have something else that you would like to add to this conversation for our viewers?
Yeah, I love you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And for all our viewers, if you felt that, share it with someone else. Maybe someone else, I bet they want to feel that too. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Vishrant. It was my pleasure to have you. And don't forget, on January 24th, is going to be this beautiful retreat for 4 days that is going to be online or in person if you're close to Australia or you can travel to Australia. And if not, hey, we can have it online too. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vishrant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.